Good morning. We are here with yet another session of nutrition, and right now we had an amazing session of yoga. So we are switching over to a nutrition session by Vaibhav Garg. So we have Vaibhav Garg with us. He's a renowned clinical and sports nutritionist who is the founding force behind Pure Size, which is natural and vegan branding. So he has his homegrown nutritional supplements, and he'll be taking a session and of nutrition with us. So Vaibhav, I'll leave the stage to you right now, and you can conduct your session. And then I'll come back after your session, and we'll have a question and answer round with yoga and nutrition together as well.
Okay, great, Pooja. Thank you so much for the introduction. And first of all, I would like to say that I'm glad to be a part of this initiative, wherein we are able to basically share our experience and our knowledge with the audience, so that they can benefit more and more from the daily food. Right? We sometimes undervalue the importance of one very important element in our house, which is our kitchen. And I always like to tell people that your kitchen can actually be your pharmacy. You have all the medicines and all the tools available right at your fingertips. Now, first and foremost, let me tell you that it is possible to not only prevent contracting the COVID-19 virus, okay, but you can also recover more efficiently if a scientifically correct nutrition regime is maintained. Now, I'll obviously highlight what I'm trying to talk about here. I know we would like to believe that the diet we consume either for prevention or for immunity boosting post contracting the virus may differ, but honestly, the guidelines remain the same because one is at risk either way. So the best measures need to be taken at all times. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to highlight a few areas that I feel are very important to make note of, and at the same time, I'll speak about those areas in detail then, so that will give you all a very good idea as to what I'm referring to. Now, first and foremost, and this is something which I like to speak out a lot, is that you need to think about more anti-inflammatory food. Now, what are anti-inflammatory foods? Anti-inflammatory foods are obviously things like more vegetables, fruits, more nuts, more grains in your diet. Now, what is the difference between anti-inflammatory foods and inflammatory foods? Let me highlight any kind of disease or disorder or discomfort that you might feel in your body basically always starts off with some kind of inflammation. Okay, now this inflammation might not be superficial that you feel as a result of a bump or an injury, but this is inflammation that happens at the cellular level. This is something you can't see. Okay, now that there is a reason why we tell people, we encourage people to get biannual blood checkups done. We ask them to visit doctors. We ask them to visit people like myself, just to ensure that we can find out if there is some kind of imbalance or if there is something wrong. We've all heard that people with pre-existing conditions, or as we refer to them as comorbidities, like hypertension, diabetes, for example, people who are obese, yani ki people who are overweight, they are more prone to contracting the COVID-19 virus. That is true. Why is the case? Because they have some kind of underlying inflammation. They have some kind of underlying imbalance. If someone has diabetes, they have excess sugar levels. If someone is hypertensive, they have higher levels of blood pressure. If someone is obese, they have some kind of hormonal imbalance related to probably thyroidism, insulin resistance. Again, obesity can be linked to type 2 diabetes. So these are basically your inflammatory conditions. And if you eat foods that basically feed into this, you are basically creating a recipe for disaster, right? So inflammatory food would be processed foods, refined foods, sugary foods, if you eat a lot of fatty food, right? So these basically are all inflammatory foods. And the opposite of that would be your anti-inflammatory foods, your vegetables. So obviously the winter season is around the corner. You have wonderful access to a wide array of vegetables. Please, I would encourage all of you to make really, really good use of that. Include lots of colorful vegetables. Make sure you get all your leafy green vegetables. You will ensure there's a lot of iron in your diet. You will ensure there's a lot of zinc and folate in your diet. Make use of lots of colorful foods. Do not restrict yourself. I know we Indians, especially in the northern part of the country, tend to restrict ourselves to banana and apple eating only, okay, because those are the most commonly used foods. I would encourage you to go out there and experience more color, more variety, more richness in your food, right? So look at red colored fruits, green colored fruits, yellow colored fruits. Um, Next area I would like to basically highlight is that we definitely need to pay attention to what we hear around us, what is being propagated, and this is where the role of things like WhatsApp, Google, the media basically that comes into the picture. So please be aware of mass psychology and propagandas. You like the people who might be regularly exercising or working out, or otherwise also might have heard that you need to eat more protein. You need to eat those protein supplements, to survive and to be healthy. Well, let me burst your bubble. You actually might not be 99.9% of you probably do not even need that extra protein to survive. So we need to be wary of such propagandas. Our bodies are designed basically to function more on carbohydrates. That's how the body functions. We just need to consume the right kind of carbohydrates. So we focus more on complex carbohydrates. What are these? Avoid maida. Okay, instead of that, take more of high fiber oats, ragi, jawar. There are tons of grains and millets that we have been using traditionally for years and years, for decades and for centuries. It's just that food companies, they tend to use things like more of maida, corn flour, because that lends more tasty of processed food, and at the same time it's much more economical. But whose health is getting compromised at the end of the day? It's our health which is getting compromised. So it's very important to avoid what you tend to hear generally. You should know that, thirdly, you should know that good immunity always starts with good gut health. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate, because a lot of us are facing major digestive issues today. Now, these digestive issues, how do you know whether you have these digestive issues? Because you might be facing any one of the following, or maybe a combination, which could be acidity or acid reflux. You might be having poor bowel movement, poor stools, basically. So you could be having constipation. You might feel bloated. Your stomach might feel that it's expanding after you eat your food. You might experience something called belching, which is basically excessive burping, or flatulence, which is basically passing of gas. If you are experiencing any one or more of these symptoms more than usual, or how you would otherwise, you definitely have some underlying digestive issue. Now, why do I pay so much emphasis on digestive health? We've all heard about certain good bacteria living in our gut. These are microorganisms that basically help our gut, our digestive system, adapt to the kind of foods that you're consuming and to the external environment. Okay, if you treat yourself to any sugary food or dessert, there is no nutritional benefit for you or me if I consume it. But it is the gut microbiome, it's the gut bacteria that basically helps the digestive system adapt to all the processed foods, the sugars that you fed it with, so that there is no adverse reaction. But then there comes a point where the threshold is crossed, and even your gut microbacteria is unable to help you to adapt, to consuming such foods. So it's very important that you keep your gut health up. Consumption of high fiber foods is very important. So again, coming back to things like vegetables, you need to consume a lot of pulses and legumes. Pulses basically are the dals that we consume on a daily basis. Moong dal, masoor dal, urad dal, for example. Legumes would be your beans, The red kidney bean, the white chickpea, the black chana, for example, again, a regular part of our diets. They're present in your kitchen all the time. We like rice also, by the way. Rice is an excellent food for your gut. I know rice has kind of been made the culprit when it comes to diabetes and weight gain, but trust me, rice is one of the superfoods, as I would like to put it, because the pulses, things like rice, the fiber basically that is present in the vegetables and in all these foods in general, form what we like to call the food for the bacteria in your gut. So we classify these foods as pre-bacterial foods. I would repeat, these are pre-bacterial foods because they actually form the food for the microorganisms in your gut. If your gut is happy, if the microorganisms in your gut are happy, and if they're being fed well, they will ensure that your gut health also remains in check. And if your gut is healthy, trust me, your immunity will be far more superior than your counterparts. So let's focus. That's why I'm breaking it down so that you can focus on one ingredient at a time, one focus area at a time, and you will probably be able to relate as to what area it is that is more important that you need to focus on. Mhm. So just stemming away from this, obviously we know that our immunity is the first line of defense. So it is important that there are essential ingredients that you take in your diet that ensure that your immunity stays up to the mark. Those of you who are trying to prevent getting infected from the coronavirus, or those of you who already been through the tough cycle, you might have obviously consumed or are already consuming things like vitamin C supplements, zinc supplements. There are a lot of other traditional things that are going around like giloy and all. All I'd like to highlight is that yes, you need to take your vitamins and minerals from your food. It's very important. We like to classify these as micronutrients. You require them in smaller quantities, but they have a far-fetched role because they play a role in all the chemical reactions that are happening in our body. See, the carbohydrates are required basically because they are the basic fuel, the glucose. They help the cells function, they help the cells multiply, regenerate, etc., etc. Then we have the proteins, basically, which are the building blocks, very important for your bones, your muscles. Then you have the fats, the fatty acids, like we like to call them. So you need to take the right kind of fats. Now, what are the kind of fats? These are fats that are rich basically in omega-3. So you need to consume things like nuts, which will give you a high dose of omega-3. You need to get your daily dose of desi ghee as well. Do not forget, desi ghee is very, very important for immunity boosting, for gut health. It's great for your joints, great for the brain and heart. If I draw a list out in relation to the benefits attached with desi ghee, it will be endless. All right, it's always been great to consume. It always will be. And then we have the micronutrients, like I mentioned. So it's very important that you get it from your food, and at the same time add some natural supplements to your daily regime. These supplements could be vitamin C supplements. Some supplements that kind of get overlooked because they're not your run-of-the-mill supplements that every doctor would write. That is where someone like me would come into the picture. Why we pay emphasis on this is because we've seen through a lot of research and case studies, and I'm sure a lot of people out there who actually do reading outside of what is basically being shown by the media only, that vitamin D deficiencies have kind of proven to be the shortcoming for people. Most of the population, especially in a country like ours, where we do not get quality sunlight, it is frowned upon if you would be topless just to get your daily dose of sunlight. So we are basically suffering from vitamin D deficiencies. It's very important that you get your daily dose. Let me highlight: you will not get your vitamin D from your food. It's not possible. Your body has to synthesize it in the presence of sunlight, and just exposing your face and your arms is not enough. Your body needs to act like a solar panel. Okay, all of you know how solar panel works. You need to position it in a way, in a manner that it gets maximum sunlight so that it can basically absorb the energy and convert it for us. Similarly, your body needs to act like one. So, like I mentioned, we're not able to do that. If you are able to, great, keep up the good work. but then you need to get your daily dose of vitamin D supplements. How much you should be taking, what the doses should be, can be advised to you by your health practitioner, by your doctor, by your nutritionist. They will guide you as to how they need to be taken. Other powerful, natural supplements that exist basically would be ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, again, there was a research conducted by IIT Delhi and a Japanese institute, wherein they've proven that taking ashwagandha, mostly in the form of a supplement, because we usually don't take that in our food, has been proven to basically help create a barrier so that the protein of the COVID-19 virus cannot enter the cell. There's a lot of research on this. You can Google this. So taking ashwagandha, and then things like anti-inflammatory or antioxidant-rich supplements like curcumin or turmeric, which we daily use, which we used on a daily basis in our food. So if you can't take the supplement, forget it. You can basically take some good amount of turmeric in your food. You can add it to your herbal teas as well. It has a host of benefits. We've known about it for centuries. Make the most of it now. I mean, it's great for respiratory health and gut health. And at this time, maintaining good gut health and good respiratory health is very important. Also, keeping in mind that the environment is getting quite polluted, it's quite toxic out there. So we need to pay extra heed to our respiratory health. Again, stemming away from that, we really, really need to make use of all the superfoods that we have at our disposal. I already spoke about the benefits of turmeric. I'd like to add a couple of them to the list. So if you are someone who is on the higher side when it comes to your weight, so if you are overweight or obese, if you are diabetic, because we've known these people to be at high risk, obviously, add things like cinnamon to your diet. Add it to your herbal teas. You can take cinnamon-based supplements as well. This will not only help regulate your sugar, it will help improve your insulin response. It's also excellent for women who are suffering from PCOS or any related hormonal issues. Add coconut to your diet. Coconut is highly beneficial, again, in improving gut health and in improving your metabolism. A lot of people with sedentary lifestyles would have noticed that their metabolism takes a hit. Okay, your metabolic rate basically is something which tells you how many calories your body will burn in an entire day. So if you are living a sedentary lifestyle, your calorie output, the calories that your body will burn, would be far less, as opposed to someone who is living a very active lifestyle. Coconut, basically, through certain ingredients in it, helps us increase the metabolic rate because it contains a compound called medium chain triglycerides. That's something you can Google, because going into detail would take a lot of time. Then I already spoke about superfoods like ashwagandha. You definitely have to avoid falling prey to traditional eating habits. While we always encourage consumption of, basically, like I just mentioned, which is again a traditional eating habit, there are a lot of traditional eating habits that just have been around due to the social element. It's just because we've been hearing about it for centuries from our parents, from our grandparents. We really do not pay any heed to the fact whether there is any scientific basis to it. And now this is something which usually is a very controversial topic when I go out for my lectures, and I even discuss this with my clients. But the consumption of milk-based foods, dairy foods, barring desi ghee. Okay, so when I speak of things like milk, when I speak of milk derivatives like curd or dahi, paneer, cheese, they are one of the most inflammatory foods that actually exist. Now, this may come as a surprise to a lot of you, because we've probably been consuming this for the longest time. But I can tell you from my experience, I can tell you from the experience of professional athletes that I've been working with for years and years. I can tell you from the experience of numerous case studies that have been done, and with my clients alone, that elimination of dairy-based foods has been detrimental in improving um, not only your gut health, but your overall health. We've seen improvement in people with diabetes, with hypertension, with heart disease, even with cancer. Elimination of these foods leads to higher energy levels, more productivity, better gut health, lowering of blood sugar levels. We've looked at reversal of type 2 diabetes in more than 1,000 cases, reversal of hypertension. I know it sounds very surprising because we've been consuming dairy-based foods for a very long time, but then there is a lot of scientific basis to this. If you go on Google, do not just look for random articles, but look at case studies, look at journals that have been published, and you will actually see that while milk has been touted to be a very, very good food, a complete food, it actually is not. So it is highly inflammatory. It in the current pandemic, the things I would like to highlight related to dairy would be that milk, curd, paneer, cheese would basically destroy your gut microbiome. So it will harm your gut health, therefore impacting your immunity. And secondly, it is highly mucus forming. Mucus, or the bulgum like we like to call it, which is present basically in the upper respiratory tract, is something which gets formed more and more if you consume milk, curd, or paneer. You must have all noticed that after consuming milk or curd, you might experience more phlegm, more mucus, in the throat and the respiratory area. A lot of young Indian kids suffer from upper respiratory issues from a young age, and trust me, when you have so many pollutants in the air, so many toxins in the air, that's the last thing you want, because more mucus means there is more potential for toxins and for bacteria and viruses to get trapped. So you're basically creating an ideal environment that way then for the COVID-19 virus to basically attack you. So moving away from this, there are a lot of alternates out there that you must definitely explore. You can look at plant-based milks. You can look at nut-based milks like almond milk, cashew milk, oats-based milk. They are healthier choices. Please do not fall prey to these traditional social, cultural eating habits. Okay, we are humans at the end of the day. It is very easy for us to get swayed just by something that our parents or our grandparents tell us, but always know that there is some scientific basis behind what you should be eating or what you should be avoiding. So you today, as the listener in the audience, you need to go home, you need to go back, and you need to do a lot of digging yourself. You can always reach out to institutions such as PANACEA. You can reach out to people like me. We're very happy to. I'm at least very happy to always give out tips to people just to get them started on the journey to wellness. Right. Um, Lastly, I would like to highlight the role of the discipline here. Okay, discipline is key. Maintaining a healthy schedule is as important as maintaining a healthy diet pattern. I know you've been attending the sessions. You attended the yoga session as well. They speak about the importance of exercise, yoga, breathing, etc. But then, if you will notice that it all boils down to the discipline. See, we're all doing some kind of work, right? We either are in service, we've got our own jobs, or we're running our own businesses. Let me ask you, do you ever become lackluster when it comes to your work? Do you ever think that, oh, you know what, I'll probably skip work today, or I can go in 2 hours late? We don't do that. We maintain discipline. Work is important because that's what pays the bills, right? That's what keeps us going. That is what will help us achieve more. That is what will help us get more for our families in return. So why do we do the same when it comes to our health? Why do we think that it's okay to maybe not exercise today and I can go tomorrow or day after? Why do you think it's okay to maybe skip a meal or eat my meal 2 hours late? Well, it's not. You need to fuel your body. You need to look after it. I know it may sound very cliched when I say this, but your body is actually your temple. You need to look after it. No one's going to come and look after your body for you. Your outer physical being, how you look, usually is a reflection of how healthy you are on the inside or how you are feeling clinically. If you even it can tell on your it will tell on your face whether you are healthy from inside or not. Your skin should be flawless. There should be that glow on your face. There should not be any extra fat. See, I'm talking about ideal situation. A little bit of a little here and there is absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. But usually your physical appearance may be an indication as to how you are clinically. Then yes, getting your biannual, health checkups done, especially if you've crossed 30, 35, get them done twice a year. Prevention is always better than cure. Try to find out what the problem areas are, get them addressed. It is much more important today than ever to ensure that you are maintaining good health. Okay, so maintain discipline, eat at the same time, wake up at the same time, get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. It's very, very important. You cannot undervalue the quality of sleep. It is therapy in a way. Just like food is therapy, exercise is therapy, yoga is therapy, even sleep is therapy. Discipline is key. If you do not have discipline in your life, trust me, some area or the other will definitely be suffering. These would be my takeaways. And finally, for people who are actually who have dealt with the COVID-19, who are still trying to recover from this, all you can do is create an ideal environment for yourself. You really can't do anything about the external environment, but what you can control is what goes on your plate, what you're doing in your kitchen, what you're doing with your free time. And I'm talking about, being physically active here. These are things that are in your hands. Do not blame your genetics or the environment. You have to make do with what is available with you. Make the best use of your resources. So you have your food, you have your own time, you have your body, you have your family to support you. Okay, make the use of these tools, these ingredients. Um, be it the hard way, but myself and even the people I work with have realized, the lockdown and the pandemic kind of has been a blessing in disguise, where they have kind of realized what people like myself have been talking about for years and years, that you need to pay more attention to your health. It's been a blessing in disguise for a lot of people. They've got to spend more quality time with their family. They've got time to spend on their own health, which was getting neglected. I've been working with the corporates also for such a long time, and the main complaint by all those youngsters working at such major corporates has been that they don't get time. Well, I always call that out as a bluff, because we make our own time. If your health is important to you, just like your work is, I don't think there is any reason why you should be making any excuses. So please pay more attention to your health. You have all the resources at your disposal. You have all the people with you to help you through this. You just need to know how to make the best use of all these ingredients.
Thank you so much, Weber, for this great session. Actually, we also have, this pandemic has actually created a lot of immunity problems in all the age groups of people. Actually, so I would also like that is the sole reason of this initiative. Basically, it's
Mhm.
PANACEA, so that we can get all the experts under one roof and conduct the sessions for reaching out to maximum people who are actually treating themselves with the post-COVID syndrome. So that
Mhm.
is the main agenda of this, and it was a really great and very, very educative, I think, information which you have shared with us. And can you please, Deepak, can you please, we'd like to have Meher also on stage. She has also joined us. Hi, Meher. Uh,
Hello, hi.
Hi, Meher. We have Vaibhav, our expert nutritionist, and Meher, who has just conducted a yoga session. So, I would just like to ask, we'll just have a few interactive questions. So, Vaibhav, can you please tell me, like, what are the dietary recommendations, which is important, for diabetic patients who are recovering from COVID-19?
So, what is very important for the diabetics is that you need to understand the underlying cause for why the sugar levels are elevated. Okay, usually when they speak with their doctors, or generally when they may be having discussions within their family or with their friends, it all boils down to control your sugar, sugar mat khao, you know,
Yeah,
don't eat processed
right.
food. We get it, but then there is an underlying cause wherein the body is resistant basically to the insulin hormone. So there are certain foods that basically increase that resistance, whereas we have to reduce it. So that is where the role of the anti-inflammatory foods, comes into the picture. They need to replace their refined and processed grains and foods. like breads, for example. Now, this is something I get to hear a lot from my clients who are diabetic. My dietitian or my doctor has asked me not to eat roti, but instead eat brown bread. And that's something that actually makes me laugh because brown bread is maida, 50 to 60% maida with a lot of coloring added to it. Whereas the roti that you would be making at home would at least be made of wheat completely. And then we'll have the liberty of adding more ingredients to it. So do not, that's what I was mentioning when I said do not fall prey to mass propagandas. Stay away from these processed and bakery foods, so to say. Eat more whole grains and millets, like the jawar, the ragis, the bajra, and all in our diet. That is something that will really help because we North Indians especially tend to eat a lot of these foods every meal. Then they should, avoid eating high glycemic food. Now, these are foods that basically convert to sugar very quickly. So again, processed foods come into sugary foods, your sugary fruits as well. Though the season is gone for that, but people consume a lot of mangoes and all, thinking it's good for me, it's natural sugar. No, the body has a threshold even when it comes to fructose, when it comes to eating fruit-based sugar. So we cannot take the liberty of just consuming lots and lots of fruits because that has a negative impact, on the blood sugar levels. Lastly, what I mentioned regarding the dairy and eating animal-based protein, which is your meats, chicken, meat eaters. These are food basically that increase your insulin resistance. They increase your type 2 diabetes. It will increase your blood sugar levels. So these are foods that strictly need to be avoided. People who are going to the gyms, their trainers will be telling them all the time that you need to eat more chicken, you need to take your protein supplements. If you're vegetarian, they'll tell you, you know what, your exercises are going to be totally in vain if you do not take protein supplements because you're vegetarian, you're
Yes.
not getting enough
True.
protein. I call that out. Totally, I call that out because it's not true. There's no scientific backing for that. You don't have to worry. Eat more fiber in your diet. Eat a lot of vegetables. Eat a lot of nuts. Eat a lot of complex carbohydrates that I was talking about. Mhm. And eat your fats. It's very important. Eat your desi ghee. Do not eat a lot of fatty fried foods. Eat the right kind of oils. Like rice bran oil in your diet. Eat coconut oil. These are the good fats that we need to include. So, I mean, in a nutshell, that's what I could highlight for the people with type 2 diabetes.
Yes. Uh, Meher, I would like to ask, like, how important is adapting yoga, as a lifestyle for treating COVID-19?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Pooja, and excellent session, Weber. Really enjoyed it. So, of course,
Very kind.
I think that yoga as a lifestyle is very, very important because, as I mentioned at the starting of my session as well, the way you sleep, the way you eat, the way you breathe, these things should definitely be done with more mindfulness and awareness. When we are eating our food, eating mindfully, really concentrating on eating, not just being on the TV, clapping on the phone, talking on the phone, that's going to sort of disturb the process of eating. Also sleeping, keeping all the, I know right now we all at home, so, it's, even right now we all are on our laptops actually. This has become a part of our lifestyle. So at least the things what we are doing them more mindfully, like sleeping, having that 8 to 9 hours of good rest, proper sleeping, eating mindfully, doing the yoga practice every day, at least twice a day. The basic stretches, what I did today was very, very basic, and the postures I covered on today's session was specifically for immunity boosting. So all the pranayama, the breathing, the asanas, you do them twice a day for 15, 20 minutes, and that will really, really help you. So a lot of my students, actually a couple of my friends, they got down with COVID. So they have now doing the yoga session with me, and it's really, really helped them. One of my friends, she's really sent me a very nice message in which she's demonstrated how the stretching and the breathing has helped her to recover because she's feeling really weak. The after effects of COVID is you feel really, really weak. And you even your mental health you feel just not good. So one of my students, because of the pranayama, she went to a place where I think, I don't know, they were having some shisha or something, okay, outside, and they all were sharing the same filter or something
Right.
like that. And she is my student. She's doing yoga with me for past 1 year. So she was taking that, I'm just giving you an example, and she was taking like a drag of that with everybody. So there were 5 people, 4 people had tested positive, and she has not tested positive. Why? Because she's doing the pranayama regularly, she's doing the practice regularly. So her lung capacity, immunity is increased. So, you can protect yourself from the virus. You can take the precautions by yoga.
Yes. I would like to ask Vaibhav that, immunity is important in recovering. Like, it's very important. So, and it is, many children are also getting affected along with the elders. Many children, like below 20 or maximum by 25, 30. So, what kind of diet is important for them actually? Because with age related problems, we know what the diet you have already said. So I would like to know the youngsters who are actually facing the post covid treatment, and the food to boost their immunity and to regain their strength for the daily lives.
So, see, it all boils down to the body's capacity to produce antibodies. Whenever there is any kind of foreign invasion in the body, an infection like COVID 19, how is it that the body is able to fight it? There is a cough, there is a cold. I know we usually try to suppress the coughs and the colds and the fevers, but you'll be surprised that any of these symptoms which exist basically are mechanisms for the body to try to get rid of the infection. Okay, a cough or a cold is basically the body trying through the mucous membranes that maybe the virus might get trapped or the bacteria might get trapped and it might get expelled to the body. That does happen, but then a lot of it remains as well. And what remains basically is basically taken care of by the antibodies. They are the warriors, basically, the immunity building cells, basically. So, because they lack in immunity due to those, so I would like to primarily focus on two things here. One, poor eating habits, and second, the traditional myths associated with certain food that they're good for us. Now, poor eating habits also include lifestyle, like Meher mentioned. These kids are totally into their gadgets nowadays. Okay? They honestly do not even know what it is like to play games outdoors.
Outside,
First
yes.
of all, it's very
True.
important that they need to be physically active. Now, for them, we might not expect that they would be practicing yoga or doing anything like that. No, we can't expect that. But they must be physically active. Okay, they must play outdoors. They must take the necessary precautions, obviously, but they have to be outdoors. They have to be physically active. When we use more and more of our muscles, um, whenever we sweat, sweating is a form of detoxification. Those are the toxins. Second, when the muscles are active, the muscles grow. When the muscles grow, the immunity increases. They're directly related. When it comes to the foods, you need to cut out the inflammatory foods, but because that suppresses the immune function of the body. Here, I would like to definitely tell the parents, stop giving your kids and stop focusing only on milk. Traditionally, we are only and only inclined to giving kids milk. Either it leads to undernourishment because milk is non-digestible, and they will see that the kids don't want to eat any other food. If they don't eat any other food, any other antioxidant-rich food, any fiber-rich food, where will that immunity come from? Okay, there's too much dependence. And then secondly, in order to please them and pacify them and to give in to their whims and fancies, again, parents would give them chocolates, they would give them bakery foods, cookies, etc. What is the end result? Again, same thing. It leads to poor gut health. Poor gut health leads to poor immunity. And are these foods carrying any nutrition? No, they are nutritionally devoid foods. We do not encourage consuming any foods that do not give you any nutrition at all. I like to call these empty calories. So you need to give, if they have sweet cravings, hand them a fruit. Have a salad in every meal. It's very important that you do that. Okay, and you need to eat lots and lots of pulses and legumes. These are basically a kind of superfood because they're rich in fiber. They have lots of amino acids, which is proteins. They're rich in complex carbohydrates. These are the real building blocks for your kids.
Right. Meher, if you could just explain a bit about Hatha yoga and Vinyasa yoga and also animal flow, which will help in recovering and which will help in boosting immunity as well. I think
Okay.
we can do it in all age groups, right? These kind of yogas.
Yeah. So, firstly, I would just like to add that about the diet in yoga practice, we say just stick to a sattvic diet. So sattvic means vegetarian and pure. So all the seasonal vegetables, everything. It's very important to stick to. So yoga and diet are actually going hand in hand. So when I am learning about the yoga, it's also about the diet. So eating sattvic, eating wholesome is very, very important. Secondly, the question you asked about yoga. So yoga is a holistic practice, and then so actually it's contradictory because what you're asking me is vinyasa hatha. You're dividing yoga into styles, okay? And
Yes.
animal flow is something that you do when you are very, very advanced in the yoga practice. So that's something that I don't think you need to use for the COVID at all, because that's something very vast and intermediate. You have to move a lot. It's a very high movement yoga. That's an animal flow, which of course helps to increase flexibility and weight loss and all of that comes with it. But yes, I don't like to divide yoga in styles because, of course, yoga is as one aspect. But because you're asking, and because it has been differentiated in the West and in a few other countries, and of course, I also had to learn about it. So I'll say that hatha yoga ka matlab hota hai ha and tha, right and left, sun and moon. So when you combine it, that is the hatha yoga, and that's the basis of yoga. This yoga you do, especially in the morning, because this is a more relaxing, calming sort of yoga in which you're holding the stretch more, you're breathing a lot more. So that is Hatha Yoga. What we did today morning, that is Hatha Yoga. And what is Vinyasa Yoga is more commonly practiced in the West, like America, UK, all these US, UK, these countries, and that is a more flowy kind of yoga. It's done all in a flow. There's no stopping in the middle. It's all continuously flowing. And again, not that much focus on the breath, but again, focus more on the movement. So that is the difference for the Hatha and Vinyasa.
Right. So, as like with these two sessions today, it's the beginning of a 6 month long journey of PANACEA. So, we will love to have you on board again with all the other sessions as well for the next coming months. And, what we have learned today is that nutrition and yoga, these are together, it's juxtaposed, and we need to balance it for a healthy lifestyle. I think post COVID treatment also to prevent us ourselves, and that is what majorly we have learned. And I would like to thank both of you for your valuable time and waking up so early in the morning and uh, gracing these sessions. It was beautiful and very educative. Thank you so much. And I would also like to thank Mylan Pharmaceuticals for supporting us in this cause. And I'm sure Panacea has a great start. And for the next 6 months, it is going to be really great. And thank you so much for coming for this sessions and gracing
My
us.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
Yes.
Is good good enough? That's what we ask ourselves at Mylan. When we see dreams getting hindered by poor health, we feel good is not good enough. When possibilities can be accessed by just a few, good is not good enough. When health comes with a condition of affordability, we know good is not good enough. For more than half a century, we at Mylan have helped create better health around the world. We market more than 7,500 quality products that help people in more than 165 countries.
Because good health gets better only when it becomes more accessible to all. At Mylan, delivering better health for a better world isn't our job, it's our mission. Mylan, better health for a better world.